Welcome, everyone. This is the last free talk that I'm doing of the year, a CEO Masterclass. But it's not just for CEOs. Today's talk is in celebration of the CEO Accelerator, a program that I'm super proud of. The whole team is super proud of. It distills nearly 3 decades of work experiences, everything from time at McKinsey to helping build Skype to building over 100 companies, actually, some directly my own and, helping others build theirs, all distilled into a 12-week program around 3 pillars, around helping you scale your company, your leadership, and yourself, which is very much what today's masterclass is about. I'm going to give you some ultra practical things that you can use to help scale your company, your leadership, and self. And it's a great time of year, right? So it's a great time of year to be a bit reflective about what we've done, what's gone well, what hasn't, and also use it as an opportunity to think, what do we want to change, right? There's a great book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, right? And you can't expect the different results, better results if you continue doing the same things. And so as I as I go through today's talk and, you pick up uh, little practical tools and insights and ideas here and there, you may have heard many of these things before. And I just want to challenge you right there. Make sure that you don't give yourself credit for knowledge. Okay, because knowledge is not where the game is played. When I was growing up, I remember one of the catchphrases was knowledge is power. And knowledge is no longer power anymore. You can acquire knowledge pretty cheaply these days within seconds, at a world-class level. So where does the true power lie? It lies in application. Do you actually do the things that you know you should be doing? So as we go through the talk today, and even if you've been to this particular talk before, because I've been running this talk now for a couple of weeks, um, again, don't give yourself credit for knowing. Even if you've heard it before, you only get credit for doing, not for knowing. So let's jump into today's talk. So once again, today's talk is in celebration of the CEO Accelerator. We have our next cohort launching in January. And I'm just going to share a link. You can just look at this. I'll do a screen share later and take you through the program. But that is the link to the CEO Accelerator. And the CEO Accelerator, who's it for? Well, it's for the same group of people that today's talk is for. It's for founders. It's for CEOs. It's for people with CEO-like responsibilities. It's for senior leaders. It's for members of the C-suite. If you aspire to be a CEO, if you want to learn to think like a CEO, all of these groups are represented in the current cohort of the CEO Accelerator, and all of these groups will also benefit from today's talk. My name is Eric Partaker, as I'm sure many of you know and realize, and I'll start off with just a little story. It's the story of essentially how I've gotten to where I've gotten to today in a completely unplanned way. And that's a nice way of starting today's talk. And I'll start with a quote actually from John Lennon. So life is what happens while you're busy making other plans. And the reason that's relevant is that I never would have expected that life would have unfolded in the way that it has. So I started off as a consultant with McKinsey and Company, first in their Chicago office and then in their Oslo office. As mentioned earlier, I'm half American, half Norwegian. And then I joined Skype in its very early days and helped with the blitz scaling of that. And this is back when we used to use Skype. I don't even know what my password is anymore. But there was a time when we all used to use it, you remember? And about 20 years ago or so, we blitz scaled the company. We had a very big exit to eBay for a few $1 billion. And then after Skype, I built what became an award-winning chain of Mexican restaurants in the UK, literally from the ground up. And about 3 years ago or so, moved to Portugal, which is where I'm dialing in from right now. And I started to coach and mentor CEOs since I had done that most of my career. It's pretty much the only kind of job or role that I know. And I started to invest in their companies as well. And I never would have expected all of these twists and turns to happen. And about 23 months ago, not being a social media person, I hadn't really posted much. I started to post on LinkedIn for the first time. I had a LinkedIn account for 20 years. And I had gotten to about 20,000 followers in 20 years. I basically opened up a LinkedIn account when LinkedIn first appeared on the scene. And so 20,000 followers might sound like a lot, but it's not over 20 years. It was basically, accepting random connection requests here and there. And I never bothered posting because of a few limiting beliefs, to be honest. I thought I don't have anything interesting to say. I thought um, I don't know what to say, and I thought even if I say something, there's no chance that it's going to be, a breakout success in terms of, people's interest in whatever it is that's on my mind or that I have to share. Thankfully, I'm glad that I was wrong on all accounts, and I started to post, and the account quickly became recognized as the third most influential creator account in the world out of 1 billion accounts, and number one in the management and leadership niche. And I share all of this because I believe that you can literally achieve anything that you want, literally anything, provided that you focus on the right things. And therein lies the secret, because most people don't focus on the right things. And if you look at the people in the world who have extraordinary success, do they have an extraordinary number of hours in their day? They're not gifted with 36-hour days. They're not gifted with 48-hour days. We all have 24 hours a day. So where is the difference? And I believe at its core, it's the things that you choose to focus on, which by default also means what are the things that you are going to say no to? And most people aren't good at this. Most people are actually quite bad at this. I was very bad at this in the first half of my career. I became very, very good at this as my career progressed. And today's talk is an exercise in focus as well. And the CEO Accelerator is an exercise in focus. It's to help you focus on the things that truly matter most. What are the 20% of things which will account for 80% of the results that you're seeking or the progress that you want to make? And when I coach and mentor CEOs, when I say CEOs, by the way, I mean founders, CEOs. Means that's the type of CEO I am. I'm a founder CEO. And when I work with a founder or a CEO, they all start from the same place. Eric, can you please help me scale my company? And I always say that, yeah, of course I can, but we need to start with the recognition that we can't just scale the company. The company is the hardware. And if we want the hardware to operate correctly, we need to code the software correctly. And the software are two other pillars that need to scale in parallel to the company. And that's the leadership of the person at the helm. And are they operating to their fullest potential? And so really we need to scale all three things in parallel: the company, your leadership, and yourself, if you want to achieve, breakout success. And the odds, unfortunately, are stacked against us in that mission. And what do I mean by that? Well, let me just share some numbers. So only 1% of companies successfully reach the scale-up stage. After a founder transitions to a CEO role, or when a new CEO is installed in a company, after about 18 months, that person is considered 40% of the time, that person is considered not successful in their role. 40%. And after 2-3 more years, we're getting to just over 50%. Just over the majority are considered to be not successful in their role. It doesn't mean that they aren't achieving results, but the results are average or mediocre, right? They're not extraordinary. They're ordinary. And I think we all want to achieve extraordinary, right? I mean, if I walked around the world with a magic button and said, press this, and you'll instantly close the gap between where you are and where you'd like to be, everyone would press that button. And when we look at the self, right? So the scaling of the self. So what percentage of the people in the world truly play the game that they're capable of playing? What percentage of the people in the world truly, both identify the gifts that they have and exercise and strengthen those gifts, to the greatest degree possible in pursuit of or in service of whatever their life's work is? What percentage of people operate to their fullest potential? And to get some insight into answering that question, we can look at the research of Abraham Maslow with his hierarchy of needs. And Abraham Maslow with his hierarchy of needs said that as human beings, we seek to fulfill, different needs, wants, and aspirations. And at the basic level, we have basic needs like making sure that, we have food, shelter, safety. And then thereafter, we pursue things like love and belonging. But that at the top of the pyramid, the number one thing that unites us all, regardless of where we are, is that our path to deepest fulfillment lies in operating to our fullest potential. But in his research, he estimated only 2% of people do that. Right. So when we look across those pillars of scaling a company, your leadership, and yourself, and this is highly relevant if you're an aspiring leader, if you're a founder or a CEO, when we look across all those pillars, again, only 1% of companies reach the scale-up stage successfully. The majority of CEOs are considered to not be successful in their roles, and only 2% of people operate to their fullest potential. So the odds of closing that gap between where you are and where you'd like to be in an extraordinary way, not in an ordinary way, is equivalent to becoming a pro athlete. And literally, if you look at those numbers. However, that's a great analogy, right? Because let's think about a pro athlete for a moment. They've reached the top of their game. They're a professional. Have they done it alone? Is there an example of an Olympic athlete out there that, won gold without the help of someone else? Is there an example of a top athlete, a top pro, who did it without a coach or mentor? And I think we all know the answer to that. It is impossible to reach the top, without the support and the accountability of others. And that, by the way, is central to what the CEO Accelerator provides. And I'll put the link in the chat once again. And that's what today's talk is in celebration of. So the CEO Accelerator is a community. You're joining a community. And it's a bit of a sprint. It's a 12-week program to help you scale your company, your leadership, and yourself. Because all three are necessary, right, to play the game that you're capable of playing. Now, I'm going to give you some practical tools in each of these three pillars so that you can walk away with some things to think about. And while I'll be sharing some of the practical tools that we have in the CEO Accelerator, please bear in mind that there's over 100 and tools and frameworks in the CEO Accelerator. And we don't have the benefit of interactivity right now, right? It's just me talking to you. And that's given the nature of how much time we have. We don't have a ton of time. So while this is a lecture, the CEO Accelerator is very much taught in an interactive group, like seminar format, right? We have the chance to work with the material, work with various exercises as we progress through the Masterclass schedule. And I'm going to start off with a question. So let's talk about leadership. And again, remember the start of this talk. It's the end of the year here. 2024 is coming to a close. It is what it is. You've achieved exactly what you wanted to do this year. Maybe, it was mediocre results. Maybe it was a crap year for you, but it is what it is. The year's coming to an end. But what we can do is reflect upon how are we complicit? How are we responsible, for the results that we say we don't want in our lives or in our work? And I want you to reflect as we go through this talk once again to translate these thoughts that you pick up today into action so that you can make 2025 a super meaningful year for you. It's not cheesy in any way whatsoever to want 2025 to be your best year ever. Why on earth wouldn't you want that? Why would you want to go into the year for it to be your worst ever? That's ludicrous. So it's okay, to be optimistic and excited about the year and to say, look, I want this to be different. I want it to be my best year ever. And as we go through the talk today, even once again, if you've heard these things before, do not give yourself credit for the knowledge. Ask yourself, what can I do to better implement the things that I'm hearing, so that we can close the gap between knowledge and actually doing. So the question that I'd like to pose to you all is a very, very simple leadership question. And it's, would your team members say working with you was the high point of their careers? So just ask yourself that. Would your team members say working with you was the high point of their careers? Because you absolutely should want them to say that. And we're going to get to why in a moment. But chances are a lot of you might be saying, well, maybe some would, but I'm not sure everyone would. And there's probably some work to do. And then I want to ask you another question, which is, what is the most fundamental resource that powers companies today? What's the most fundamental resource powering companies today? And that resource, yeah, go ahead. But actually, what do you think it is? Just put in the chat. What do you think is the most fundamental resource powering companies today? So team, people, what do people think here? Yeah. Culture, creativity. It's the fundamental resource. Team spirit, trust. So far, pretty much all of these things either directly or indirectly relate to the most fundamental resource. And it's the intellectual capital of the company. In other words, the combined intelligence of a company's workforce, your people's combined capability. Now, what percentage, and this is research backed, the research is in a book called Multipliers by Liz Wiseman. What percentage of their people's capability does an average leader get? Right? So, you would want 100% of your people's capability. What percentage does the average leader get? Just put it into the chat. What percentage? What do you think? Okay, so 66%, 30, yeah, 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 75. Isn't it amazing how maybe you've never been asked this question before, but isn't it amazing that we're all pretty much united in that you're not getting, 100 and often not close to 100. We all know this to be true. I didn't, that doesn't even need to be a study, to confirm this. But research has confirmed that the average leader only gets 66% of their people's capability. Now, this is massively important for you as a founder, as a CEO, as a senior leader, because mathematically speaking, it's like paying $1 for someone's capability and you only get 66 cents in return, meaning a 34% waste. And I want you to think of two parallel universes. One is you as a leader with your team, you're going to be doing the average. There's no reason to think because without proper training, you'll do the average. So what's the trajectory of that company, your business, your life, getting 66% out of the people that you lead? And now, if you could be taught the right behaviors, the changes, the right things to be doing and not doing, what is the trajectory of that life and how does it compound year after year when you're getting 100%? In the first year, yeah, that's only 33% more, but you do that for 10 straight years. And how does that compound over time? And this is an example of what we teach you in the CEO Accelerator. So we teach you as a founder, as a CEO, as a senior leader, what it is that you're doing and what you need to stop doing to close the gap between that 66% and that 100%. And the first thing that you need to do is essentially look into the mirror. Because if you're not getting the results that you would like, as Peter Drucker said, the bottleneck is always at the top of the bottle. And so you have to ask yourself, to what degree are you standing in the way? And there are 6 things, 6 behaviors. There's more than 6 actually, but there are 6 core things that people do as leaders that accidentally diminish those around you. And we go into all of this in the CEO Accelerator, because everyone who is getting less than 100% of their people, it's typical, nobody has the intention. Who shows up at work and says, what's your intention today? I would love to get just 66% of my people. That's going to be a good day. Nobody has that intention, obviously not. So we're accidentally diminishing people with our poor behavior. We don't recognize that it's poor, though. I'll give you one example. Well, let me ask a question. How many of you think of yourself as an ideas person? I'm an ideas person. Just put a yes into the chat. I'm an ideas person. You have lots of ideas. So do we have any people like that in the group? Yes, so Tace here. Jose, yes, absolutely. Here. Definitely, 100%. Yes. There's even enthusiasm here, right? 100%. And I'm an ideas person too. I'm an endless fountain of ideas. So here's the news for you. That is one of the 6 core accidentally diminishing tendencies. So you being an ideas person in an unfiltered way without learning how to modulate that behavior will actually lower the output of the people around you because of the endless fountain of good ideas. Now, your intention is good, of course, right? Your intention is, but all of these ideas are going to help fuel the growth of the business. This is exciting. Look at these like genius things that I'm constantly coming up with. And it overwhelms the people around you, and it actually inhibits them from doing their best work. So in the accelerator, we identify all the behaviors and we give you strategies to help you still hang on to the strength that's represented in what that behavior is, but in a way where you get the best of both worlds. You retain the strength, but you also don't hurt those around you. And as an ideas person, one quick thing that you can do is just make sure that your ideas don't get shared with everyone else, unless you actually want them to work on it right then and there. Like if it's something that they need to work on right then and there, then you share it. Otherwise, you put that away in a file to bring up later. You do not share it with everyone else. And there's other things that you can do within the realm of being an ideas person, how to modulate that behavior. But that's just like one example of how we unnecessarily overwhelm the people around us. And if you want to close the gap between 66% and 100%, and why on earth wouldn't you? There are some basic things, and I'll talk through some of those basic things that you need to be doing a better job at, as a leader, as a founder. And again, we go into this in a lot of depth in the CEO Accelerator. We have hundreds of tools and frameworks, and I can't go through all of them right now, but I can just simply cover some of them at a pretty high level, but just to give you a taste. So the first thing is to recognize that if you want to lead well, you need to have, the people you lead, you need to have their ear, right? So in English, the expression is to have someone's ear. What does that mean? It means that, people are leaning in, they're ready to listen, they're ready to follow your lead. You have their respect. They want to know, what it is that they should be doing next. They value your input. And therein lies a simple acronym. And if you're leading well, I'll ask you, again, some follow-up questions here. And these are questions for reflection for you. Obviously, in the accelerator, we help you translate, this reflection to tangible action for what outcome, so that you can get 100% of your people's potential rather than 66%. But in today's talk, I at least want you to reflect on these things. And so the E within the EAR acronym is for expectations. and ask yourself right now, to what degree are the expectations in your company crystal clear? If an outsider were to go through and interview everyone in the company, think about this. What percentage of people would be able to correctly say what your company is all about? What percentage of people would be able to correctly state what the company's strategy is? What percentage of people would be able to correctly state, these are the company's core goals for this quarter, and how those goals relate to the strategy? And what percentage of people would, if this outsider was interviewing them, be able to say right there in the moment, these are the top 3 goals that I'm working on, and here's where I'm green, yellow, or red. And with the yellows and the reds, this is what I'm doing by when in order to get them back on track. So clarity and expectations, both from an individual level, team and company level, is absolutely paramount to being able to lead well. And I'll ask you another question. So the EAR acronym, right? So expectations, accountability. To what degree do you drive accountability successfully throughout your organization? Do you believe, for example, that you have an organization which is highly accountable? It's a yes or no. I want you to be tough on yourself here. No maybes. If you force yourself to be binary on this, yes or no, do you operate a highly accountable organization? And by highly accountable, that means that it doesn't need to be top down. People keep themselves in check. Right? You got something wrong with the culture. I'm sorry to say, but there is something wrong with your culture if you as a leader need to be driving the accountability. You're doing it wrong. But you can learn how to do it right. And we teach you how to do this in the CEO Accelerator. Remember, the average leader only gets 66% of their people's potential, not 100%. Do you think there might be some type of correlation between a highly accountable organization and organizations where people deliver 100% of their capability? And I'll share another thought with you too. This is quite fascinating. So in the study that I referenced earlier from the book Multipliers, where they found that the average leader only gets 66% of their people's capability, when they interview the people only delivering 66%, those people are exhausted. They're not even delivering to their fullest potential, and they describe their life as exhausting, because it's exhausting knowing that you could be doing so much more. It's exhausting knowing that you're not playing the game that you're capable of. And when they interview the people who are being led by leaders, which we teach you how to lead in this way in the CEO Accelerator, when they interview the people who are being led by leaders that are delivering 100%, imagine what that organization achieves, 100 versus 66. How are those people feeling? They describe it as exhilarating. How is this possible? How is that possible? 66% to 100%, 33% more or thereabouts. It's like you're doing 50% more, versus 66, but yet it's exhilarating. Well, we go back to Abraham Maslow's point, right? What's our path to deepest fulfillment in life? Playing the game that we're capable of playing, operating to our fullest potential. You see how all of this is connected. And so if you can lead in a way where people give truly what they're capable of giving, not only will the organization do better, not only will you develop a deeper bond with them because they'll assign to you the fact that, wow, I discovered new things about me that I didn't know were possible because of that person's leadership. But you'll tap into the deepest, strongest force out there, which is helping someone close the gap between their current and best self. And so this is incredibly powerful. These small, subtle changes, shifts in your behavior, which are 100% trainable. And nobody's born this way, by the way. Like there are no born leaders. This crap. If anybody tells you that, this is like probably, I don't know, some egomaniac who doesn't want you to think that you can lead well. There's no born leaders. Everyone's born with nothing. We're all born with a clean slate. Everything is learned. And you can learn these behaviors. You can learn how to lead in a more powerful way. So expectations, How clear are they throughout your organization? The A for accountable. How much accountability do you truly drive? Is it peer-to-peer led? And then the R is for reward. How much praise is happening inside your companies? What's the default? Is the default wrong spotting? What's wrong here? Or is the default right spotting? What's right here? How often are people saying thank you to each other? Where's the gratitude? Where's the support? These, it's, Nyla just said finger pointing. Great example, right? In a high-performing organization with a high-performing leader, again, which we teach you how to become in the CEO Accelerator, the cultures in these organizations, they replace blame with curiosity. When something doesn't go to plan, they don't point at a person. They ask themselves, where did the system break down? Where did the process break down? Or if it is related to an individual, they recognize that, that person is good deep down, right? There's nothing wrong with the person. It's the behavior that we want to change. And they focus in this way. Again, all of this is trainable, but it's not taught in schools. Part of the reason why I created the CEO Accelerator is that when you're a founder or when you're a CEO, you're entrusted with so much, right? So much comes down to you. It's a very lonely job, and it's super high pressure, and everyone thinks that you know what you're doing, and you have no idea what you're doing. Like there's no where is the CEO school, for example? There isn't one. I tell you, it's not an MBA, that's for sure. It's way too theoretical. And so it's very difficult, all this stuff. And you have to learn through trial and error, which is a way to learn, of course, fundamental to learning. But one of the reasons why I created the CEO Accelerator is because I wish somebody would have taught me all of this stuff. I'm 49 years old, and I think, gosh, if I would have known this stuff when I was 29, the impact that I could have had. And so I've compressed 25 years from advising Fortune 50 CEOs at McKinsey & Company to helping build Skype into a multi-billion-dollar success, to building several of my own companies after that, to helping scale over 100. We've even infused behavioral science from Stanford University into the program so that you can learn all of this much more quickly, so that you don't have to do what I did and take 25 years bumping around, getting bruised, to get there. I want to accelerate, your results. So we're going to move on from leadership, and there's so much more, we talk about in the program. We talk about how to master difficult conversations and how to create, a culture of feedback, and how to build a high-powered and a high-performing and empowered team, and how to delegate in the correct way. Most people, they're horrible at delegation. A quick side note as to why. It's because, well, it's 7 words. It'll be faster to do it myself. And those are like the 7 words that keep everyone working in the business rather than on the business. And then when people do delegate, they end up delegating tasks rather than outcomes. And when they do have a difficult conversation, they have no framework for the conversation. And it's clunky as hell. And it, either it doesn't happen, so they're so worried about it, or when they do, it doesn't happen, it's not delivered well. But all of this stuff is trainable. And all of these things are super important for you to master, because if you don't, you will continue to lead as the average leader does, and you'll get 66% of the people's capability around you rather than 100%. You have one life to live, and just compound 66% versus 100% year after year. I mean, what do you think the trajectory will be, on those outcomes? Okay, I'm going to move to a different topic. So we're talking about leadership. I just want to talk about scaling a company. And there's tons that you got to get right here, right, with scaling a company. And again, we don't have time to go into it all. But I'm just going to talk about, I'll talk about a few things, fairly rapidly. So one is you need to know what it is that you're scaling. And if you're scaling a a number one or a number two market position, I mean, that is like the least inspiring thing. You have to think, no, what's the impact that you're having in the world? And when we were building Skype, our goal wasn't to become the number one voice over telephony, software provider. I mean, how boring of a goal would that have been? Our 7 words were the whole world can talk for free. And you have to ask yourself, what is it that goes beyond the company's P&L, that goes beyond shareholder value? How are we making an impact in the world? The vast majority of a company's people, sorry to say, but they're not shareholders. So the share price going, what's inspiring them? And if you don't have that, that's okay. We teach you how to arrive at, your core essence in the program. And it's fundamental, by the way. If you look at all the world's best companies out there, they can all sum themselves up in a single word. What's the one-word distillation, for example, of your company? I know what Disney's is. It's not movies. It's happiness. I know what Nike's is. It's not gym shoes or something like that. It's competition. They unleash the competitive spirit within every human being out there. And what's your company's one-word distillation? What is it that you do? What's inspiring? What's your deep, deep why? And that's where scale starts, is understanding, what's your purpose in the world? What impact are you seeking to have? And then from that flows, a strategy. But strategy, is easily overcomplicated. One of our guest faculty members in the CEO Accelerator is a guy named Alex Smith, fantastic guy, world class at simplifying strategy. I used to work at McKinsey. We had a huge incentive to make strategy super complex. Otherwise, why are you going to pay McKinsey $1 million a month? Strategy need not be so complex, though. And we teach you, how to simplify in the accelerator. You essentially, you want to increase demand, right? By making sure that your value is crystal clear for your primary ICP, your primary ideal, customer profile. Do you know what these things are? And then you want to decrease supply. How do you decrease supply? Well, you decrease supply by being different, by being unique. And most people, when they're thinking strategically, they don't think, when they think about supply and demand, they only think about demand. They don't think about, how do I actively decrease supply so that I'm the only game in town? And if you're not thinking on the supply side of the equation in terms of differentiation, in terms of what it is that you do that's truly different, because forget better. Better doesn't matter. Everyone's better. Better's boring. Everyone says that they're better. I'm the best this, I'm the best that, right? Everyone says that. What is it that you do that's different that I can't find somewhere else? In the CEO Accelerator, I can tell you what's different. We researched before we put all this together. We could not find, for example, an accelerator for founders, for CEOs, for senior leaders in a community format, in a true accelerated fashion. You're going to go through an incredible amount of learning in just a 12-week period that sat at the intersection of all 3 of these spheres of company building, of leadership development, and peak performance. We would find, elements of company building and sometimes leadership development. None of the peak performance you had to get like separately. And all 3 of these pillars need to be scaled in parallel. You have to scale the company, your leadership, and self in each. If you're a founder, for example, you need to complete an A to B journey across all of them, from startup to scale up, from founder to CEO, from current to best self. You can't find that in one place. You can now with the CEO Accelerator, but you can't find that normally. So that's a unique proposition. And it's reflected, and I'll share later some of the value that people is getting, some of the client results. It's reflected in the results that people are achieving, the unique value. So you need to get your strategy right, and you need to think about it very simplistically. How are we increasing demand, decreasing supply? We teach you how to think in this way and how to simplify the complex in the accelerator. And then when it comes to executing or enabling, scale, the 2 primary ways then that you execute, you have your vision, your strategy, is through people and systems. And I'm not going to get into a huge amount on the system side, but I'll just say from the people side, um, stop thinking about how to do everything. Okay. So whenever you want to grow, the very first thing that you should be asking yourself is, okay, well, who do we need to hire? Who's going to do this? There's a liberating thought when you suddenly realize that everything that you need in the world already exists. You just need to connect the dots and find your way to it. And it's very much the case with people. All the people that you need, let's say you have massive aspirations as a founder, you want to build a unicorn company. Well, here's a liberating thought. All the people that you need to build that company, they're alive right now. They exist. Like there's a version of the world where you find those people, you assemble them, you get them to work well together, and it happens. That dream happens. It's not like the people don't exist. There's no version where the people don't exist, is my point. They're already here. And you just need to learn how to attract top talent, identify the talent that you need, how to attract it, how to interview for it, how to retain it, how to get it to work well together, all of which, once again, we teach you how to do in the CEO Accelerator. But all the people you need to achieve your dreams, they already exist. You need to just learn how to connect the dots to them. And you have to stop thinking about how to do things and instead think about, well, who do I need once again to achieve the things that I want to achieve? And then the last pillar that we'll talk about right now is the scaling of the self, right? So how do we grow ourselves efficiently? And this is super important because you can have a great company, great leadership, but then, secretly people aren't as productive as they should be. They're not very resilient or anti-fragile. They haven't built the right networks around themselves. And they're actually not performing to their fullest, capabilities. And well, let me just ask a very quick question here. So just in the chat, just who here, would like to improve their productivity? If you would like to improve your productivity, there's a button, you can press it, improve your productivity. Just put a yes into the chat. Would you like to improve your productivity? Yeah, I mean, exactly. Of course. Yes, of course. Exactly. Who wouldn't, right? We all would. I mean, this is my next, my third, so I have a third book coming out next year. It's titled Ultra Productive. It's a science-based approach to improving your productivity. Literally, a science-based approach to improving your productivity by anywhere from 2 to 10x. Now, we talk about how to do that in the CEO Accelerator because your time as a founder, as a CEO, as a senior leader is incredibly precious, and you really need to safeguard it. And I'll give you one tip in that regard to help make yourself more productive. And we go into so much more, but we just don't have time to do it today. So the first is ask yourself a question. And the reason you need to start with a question is because there's no point in racing up a ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. And so the question is, if everything in your business were to maintain its current level of performance, if everything in your business were to maintain its current level of performance, where would change have the greatest impact? So if everything in your business were to maintain its current level of performance, where would change have the greatest impact? And whatever that question spits out, I want you for the next month just to prove how powerful this is to yourself from a productivity point of view. I want you to just block out the first hour, ideally first 2 hours of your day, and only work on this thing, whatever it is, whatever your top goal is, just work on that one thing. Your phone is off while you do this. You don't have Slack open. You don't have 37 tabs open on Google Chrome. And you don't have any other notifications going on. You only work on this one thing, on your number one most important goal. And trust me, if you actually do this and you do this day in and day out, so that you're proactive with the start of your day, not reactive, it will have a transformative effect on your results. Remember how we started the talk. If you want to achieve extraordinary results, extraordinary, what does that mean? The people who do achieve extraordinary results, do they have extraordinary, hours in the day? No, they don't have more than 24 hours in a day. It gets back to focus. I said at the beginning of the talk that most people will not achieve, the vast majority of people will not achieve extraordinary results. And that's because they focus on the wrong things. And we teach you how to turn on focus at will. I used to be the world's worst procrastinator, by the way, like horrible. I bought a set of books on overcoming procrastination in the year 2000. I didn't read them until 2010. Like I was so bad with procrastination that I didn't even read the books to overcome it. But now, I consider myself a super producer. And, I can produce incredible volumes of work. But I had to train myself how to do this. And we can close that gap between your current and best self. I will help you do that personally in the program. I will help you scale your company. I will help you become a world-class leader so that you can get 100% out of your people, not 66%. And I will help you close the gap between your current and best self. And that's what the program is all about. I'm going to open up for some questions. But just before I do, I just want to share. Can everyone see that here? This is just very, very quickly. This is the masterclass schedule for the CEO Accelerator. And I will put into the chat once again. This is the program. That's the link right there. Now we kick off in January, but this weekend is literally the last weekend. Tomorrow it expires. So this weekend is the last weekend for the early bird enrollment. What is this? So you see that code I just put in the chat, early 24. So it's just a thank you for those who take early action. We just thought it'd be nice to reward them. So it knocks 10% off of your enrollment. We already have 34 applications for the January cohort. And if you enroll and apply, this weekend using that code, you can still capture that 10% discount. So this is the masterclass schedule. We help you scale your company, optimize strategy, sales, financial intelligence, set inspiring goals, drive accountability, implement systems and processes to enable scale. We help you attract, retain, and develop top talent. We help you become a world-class leader. This is pillar number 2. We go through leadership and management essentials. How do you create an inspiring mission like we created at Skype? A vision, a world-class culture. How do you build a high-performing and empowered team? How do you stop shying away from those difficult conversations, master conflict and feedback? And then the last pillar, how do you operate at your full potential? What's the mindset of a world-class CEO? It begins and ends in the mind. Henry Ford had a quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're exactly right. How do you strengthen your self-awareness, resilience, and anti-fragility? Master your time management, become super productive, and surround yourself with wisdom and strengthen your network. Now, the entire program, what's the time commitment on the program? Each of these is a masterclass. It's 90 minutes a week. So Wednesdays, starting January 22nd, we deliver one of these. The time commitment, the minimum time commitment is a 90-minute masterclass on Wednesdays, but you're part of a community portal as well. And you also have the option, if you want, to join coaching and mentoring sessions on Fridays. So the 2 live elements are Wednesdays and Fridays, but the minimum thing is the Wednesday masterclass, the 90 minutes. You can also join the Friday coaching and mentoring session. And the sessions are all recorded in case you can't, make them all the time. And they start at 10:30 Eastern or 3:30 UK, right? So Wednesday's masterclass starts at 10:30 Eastern or 3:30 UK. It goes for 90 minutes. And then the optional coaching and mentoring on Friday is the same time. That's how the program is delivered. And I just wanted to share as well, who is the program for? And it goes from pre-revenue startups to people in the hundreds of millions. So Leah Lee, she's the founder of 0 Point Motion. She's an example of a pre-revenue startup, right? So as she says here, it's been transformative for her leadership and business. Built a high-performing team, made tough people decisions. There is Amy Gibson, right? So this is an example of a 5 million revenue scale up. Again, you can be pre-revenue, 1 million, 2, 3 million in sales, 5 million. You see Amy's thoughts here, absolute game changer. The difference in my business before and after is like night and day. Another example, so Ali Abdal, well, yeah, as he says here, my business was all over the place when we first started working together. Revenues and profits have more than doubled. And if you're considering the CEO Accelerator, I would 100% recommend it. We have VC investors as clients in the CEO Accelerator. They've put their startup and scale-up founders in the program, right? The CEO Accelerator helps our founders scale not just their companies, but also their leadership and themselves, right? And they're offering it to every new investment they make. We have 10 million revenue scale up. So this is Joe. He's in the current cohort. Their company has become profitable for the first time again in 5 years. So Joe was brought in earlier this year to help turn around the company, join the CEO Accelerator, and we've helped him create that turnaround. Rual, again, a 10 million revenue scale up. He talks about how his monthly revenue is now 7x. The program has helped him transition from founder to CEO. He talks about how the community and program has been much more valuable than his MBA. And then we even have at the high end. So here's Faraz, for example, $150 million revenue scale up. And he talks about how he had been looking for a program such as this, but hadn't had much luck. He's also doing a doctorate around high-performing organizations. So the program really resonates with him, loves the sessions, and thinks the curriculum hits all the right topics super well. He also has 4 of his leadership team members with him in the program as well. So we really hit, all ranges here, whether you're the founder, CEO, or, a senior SMB leader in a startup or a scale-up. We can help you. I can personally help you in the accelerator. Yeah, so I'll stop now. I'll open up for any questions that people might have about the accelerator. And yeah, any questions as well? Any questions about the accelerator? Okay, and yeah, and just while I'm waiting, because I see people looking for some general which is great, general productivity coaching and things like that. Just while we're waiting for actual questions about the accelerator, I will just tell you a few other things. One is let me just do a screen share right here very quickly. And again, if you do have questions about the accelerator, please do chime in. So this is the program page. Again, as you all, I'm sure, are aware. If you click on that button right there, it takes you straight to the curriculum, and you can go through the curriculum in a very detailed fashion. You can see exactly what learning you will receive module by module. And you will find, for example, on the program page, plenty of testimonials, people that I've worked with, as I've shown you today. Also, there's 4 key program components. So again, the weekly masterclasses are on Wednesdays, starting January 22nd. They're 90 minutes, 10:30 Eastern, 3:30 UK. Everything's recorded in case you can't, make it personally. Sometimes people, because their travel schedule can't. And then there's an optional coaching and mentoring session on Fridays as well. You're part of a community. The community helps hold you accountable. And then the code that I put in the chat, so the early 24 takes 10% off the enrollment fee. And that's if you enroll by Sunday. And you can still enroll after Sunday, but then the 10% early bird offer, disappears. The enrollment fee is $4,500 for the 12 weeks together, $5,000 if spread over 4 payments. And then you can add, so if you're a CEO and you want to add like your CMO or your CRO, additional team members, you can add them for $1K per person. You simply just need to get in touch. Yes. And so let me see other questions here. Yes. And then so Jody, yep, I just provided the price. So there you go. And then William, just wondering whether the skills learned here would be transferable. Absolutely. We actually have uh, a couple of healthcare sector companies in the current cohort, William. And what we teach you here is just fundamental to scaling any company. For example, who wouldn't want to learn how to get 100% other people's capability, regardless of what you're doing, right? Are there accelerators every quarter of the year? Yes, there will be. I'm also wondering how frequent these are. Yep. Okay. So answered that. Does the accelerator program cover the culture differences that need to take into account when managing very diverse teams? Yes, it does. So when we talk about in the module, the global differences, right? So basically based on geography, so that you can factor that into your culture building as well. Please expand on optional coaching. Yeah, so all I meant is that I've designed this program for incredibly busy founders and CEOs because that's the background that I come from. And so the core delivery is the Wednesday masterclass, right? So that's the key thing. And again, that's a 90-minute session. And then the Friday session is you don't have to attend, if you're incredibly busy. I mean, I would highly recommend attending as many as you could, but the Friday session is just free coaching and mentoring where I just coach and mentor all the cohort members, basically. And I do that in a 90-minute session as well. And is the company scaling applicable for nonprofit orgs as well? Absolutely. We have, so Gretchen, she is in the current cohort, and Gretchen runs a nonprofit in the US, and she's in the current cohort. So it's absolutely relevant for nonprofits as well. Because you also want to scale your efforts, right? You want to scale what you're doing. You want to get even better results. And all of that, applies. Is there any content in the curriculum around chiefs of staff to CEOs as a pivotal role? Great question, Lori. So while there isn't like, say, a set of slides, for example, like on the chief of staff role, per se, what I would say is that it's highly relevant because it helps you understand all of the things. So if you are a chief of staff, for example, it helps you understand these are all the things that a CEO needs to think through. These are all the things that are occupying their mind that they need to navigate to do their job well. And you knowing those things will help you help the CEO, essentially. And let's see. Oh, thank you, Morka. Oh yeah, Morka, I think you and I traded emails, didn't we? If this is the Morka, I think it is from Kenya. Yes, it is. Okay, well, that's great. I'm glad you found this valuable. Michelle, is the program fully hard strategy or to also integrate the soft? Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. No, I'm so glad yeah, it's the soft stuff drives the hard stuff. So for example, when I was talking about that EAR acronym, right, for leadership, expectations, accountability, the reward piece. You look at a successful marriage, and in a successful marriage, what's the positive to negative feedback ratio? It's 5-1. And we as human beings, we complain a lot and we have a negativity bias. And if we could take, some of the science behind a successful marriage into, how we look after our people and make sure that we're dishing out more praise and more gratitude, it has a hugely transformative effect on people. I'll give you another fascinating thing, Michelle, which is this came out of Yale University recently. And they did a study which arrived at what they determined was the number one predictor of leadership success. And it wasn't charisma, it wasn't your ability to, I mean, all these things are, obviously, having some charisma can help from a leadership point of view. It wasn't critical thinking, although that's still important. It wasn't like communication abilities, although still important. The number one predictor was to what degree do you positively energize the people around you? And or do they secretly go, oh my gosh, they're de-energizing, you know? So yes, we cover the soft stuff big time because it's the soft stuff that drives the hard stuff. And let's see, what other questions do we have? Thank you, Jody. I appreciate that. And then, yeah, Taysir, that's a great point. Profit versus nonprofit. What is the accelerator not? What should not be expected from the program? Great question. And let me answer too by who's going to succeed in this program. So I'll tell you who won't succeed. The person who won't succeed at this program is the person who doesn't really want it, right? So they think they want it, but they don't really want it. And how will that show up? Well, we're going to give you we're going to make things super simple. We're going to give you weekly challenges. We're going to, help you so that you can implement these things by making it as simple as possible for you. But there's an expression, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And so you should not expect that the accelerator is going to like magically, transform everything for you. You need to take action. But what you will be given is something truly world-class that you will not find anywhere else. And you will be given a simplified approach and plan and methods and tools to minimize the friction when it comes to implementation. But you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So you still need to do that work. And let's see. Great. Okay. So we are 5 minutes over, and I just want to be respectful of everyone's time here. So I'm just going to put into the chat once again. That is the link for the CEO Accelerator. You're going to get a world-class experience. I will personally help you level up, and I will personally be your coach and your mentor together with the community of other participants and help you deliver 3 outcomes. I'm going to help you scale your company. I'm going to help you become a world-class leader, and I'm going to help you operate at your full potential. I would be honored to do that. So please take a look, use that code, the EASY24 code once again. If you enroll by Sunday, tomorrow, you can enroll after, but you'll be throwing money away. You will get a 10% discount. And I'll do one other thing. If you're not 100, if you still have some questions and you're a founder, CEO, and you would love to have a chat with me, here's my Calendly link, okay? So just save that if you want to have a chat. If you can't find a time on that link, then save this as well. This is my personal email, and just email me and we can find a time to chat. But yeah, that's it. I hope you found that useful and inspiring. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and ciao for now. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.